The wait has felt like a lifetime, but the day has finally arrived. Helldivers 2 launched today, and I wanted to get a video out there to give you my candid first impressions of the game, which honestly range from the good to the not so good, and the honestly a bit ugly. I'll remain as objective as I possibly can, and like many others, I've been limited quite badly by the AMD 7000 series issues, but that aside, I will start by saying that at its core, Helldivers 2 feels like an extremely promising and fun game, with the caveat they absolutely need to sort these launch issues out. I'm a fairly balanced individual when it comes to these things, but there is a lot of anger out there, and I can understand where it's coming from. In terms of the moment-to-moment gameplay, the core gameplay feels snappy, responsive, and from playing on challenging level difficulty in the early moments of the launch, it certainly feels like communication is going to be absolutely key when approaching more challenging levels of difficulty. There were many moments, for instance, at this level of difficulty that felt like you were easily overwhelmed in a chaotic melee, and hilarity ensued between myself and my squad mates. Wipes were highly likely, and this made for some very high stakes, entertaining and fun gameplay. It's going to demand coordination, which again relies on being in an attentive squad, and if you're looking for a mindless horde shooter, folks, I really don't think that this is going to be the game for you, and you're going to have to be prepared to work with other party members closely as you progress if you are looking to play a game on higher levels of difficulty. There are 10 levels of difficulty so far that I've seen. It feels like it's going to get spicy, so if you're looking for a game where you want to get through everything, make sure you squad up and you are communicating. The gunplay is a definite strength. Guns feel and sound incredibly crunchy and impactful, and I found myself thoroughly enjoying the mechanics of using the basic weaponry from the get-go. The ways enemies respond to your hail of bullets is really satisfying, and whether it's the organic terminids or the mechanical automatons, the way in which their bodies and limbs melt and fly off after you've riddled them with bullets really adds to the overall excitement and feel of the moment-to-moment gameplay. On top of this, movement feels heavy and meaningful, positioning's key, and of course, with friendly fire returning from Helldivers 1, it's incredibly important that there is a level of awareness of where your other teammates are, or you'll very quickly find yourself racking up friendly fire kills, or of course being on the receiving end of them. The nature of the missions has remained true to the general premise of Helldivers 1 in that you are dropped onto a map and you have to roam to complete various objectives. The game rewards exploration in the form of accruing samples, which you can use to level up your destroyer's ship modules. Now, these modules have passive impacts on your stratagems and buff them accordingly, and I've yet to dump enough time into the game to see the full impact of this system at work, but having analyzed the menus, my initial feeling is that these will be where the customization really opens up and where you can start to diversify your builds and your squad composition. It felt a little bit like the samples are not fast to get, so there's definitely going to be an element of grind here, which might not be to everybody's liking. If you're looking for a game where you progress really quickly and you unlock everything absolutely lightning fast, probably not the right choice of game for you. If you're looking for a game that's got some longevity and a bit of a grind with you and your squad, then this is the one, folks. With regard to the stratagems that I mentioned, these feel very fun to play. They can very quickly turn the tide of battle, and when well placed can absolutely devastate your enemies and your allies. So use these with caution. The same system to utilize them has been duplicated from Helldivers 1, so you need to punch in a code either using WASD or the D-pad to call them in, and this makes for some really frantic, exciting moments of panic when you have waves of enemies flooding towards you and you or your squad mates are eager to call in a reinforcement, drop a sentry gun, try calling an airstrike. They look absolutely awesome, by the way, and there are loads of these stratagems to unlock. The menu's very long, and I've really enjoyed using the basic ones that I've unlocked so far, and I'm really excited to find out what the other ones have in store for us. You can create some really epic chains of destruction if you put a number together or place them together in the same place with your squad mates, and there's also weaponry available, ordnance and utility available here, and again, I think this is going to offer us some excellent customization options. I, for one, am really pleased about this. This is one of the key areas of the game that I've been saying from the start is really important to get right. It needs this to succeed, and I'll be detailing this as I progress through the game, so drop the channel a subscribe if you want to keep informed. It also really helps me out and is hugely appreciated. Now, onto the hot topic of discussion around this game, other than the launch, of course, that's monetization. The game features a shop which presents a as a sort of cross between a battle pass and a pay-to-progress setup. The war bonds contain items, weapons, armors, cosmetics, grenades, which can be purchased with medals, which you accrue from playing the game. These war bonds feel a bit like mini battle passes that are sort of loopholes in isolation, and there are quite a number of items within them that will take some time to accrue and grind. It feels like you gain medals at a fairly, I'd say, slow to medium rate. I've not played over 20 hours yet. It feels like you gain these at a steady rate, and I was able to purchase something worth 20 medals relatively quickly in the game, but flicking through the pages, the further into the battle pass, or the war bond rather, that you get, they do start requiring quite a lot of medals, and I think we are going to be quite slow to get through these. I haven't yet got an opinion on this, but it certainly gives us something to work at, and it'll be interesting to see which ones are perhaps the better ones to unlock first. There's always weapons that are better than others. There's always balancing issues, so I'm sure that'll come out, and I will be doing my best to figure out best optimal comps and things like that. So watch this space, folks. In terms of the first war bond that everybody gets with the launch of the game, there's 10 pages in that one for us to work through, and that's great. I'm glad that they've given us enough to run at there. And then there is, of course, and this is the contentious part that everyone is most interested in, there is an in-game currency that can be used to buy what is called the Steel Veterans War Bond, and that will be the first of a few, I will imagine, war bonds that will come out. And of course the aesthetic items from the in-game cash shop called the Superstore. Now, I purchased the 1,000 super credits required to buy the Veteran Steel War Bond pass with real money, and this ended up costing a total of $9.99, or that is £8. The accrual of super credits does feel very slow, I have to say, and I know that this is likely going to be an area of scrutiny that we were all expecting. In terms of the necessity to purchase super credits, well, the jury's still out there. I've been using the Liberator with explosive rounds from the Veteran Steel War Bond in the early game, and I haven't noticed a massive advantage over my friends with this, but that does not mean that this won't later become the case. This is something I'll be keen to monitor and see how it pans out the more hours I play. Now, the ugly parts, folks. Unfortunately, this launch has been marred very heavily with a slew of issues, and from my own personal perspective, I'm running a 7000 series AMD card, and I've been running into absolutely horrendous driver failures consistently. It's basically stopped my whole system from working. It's caused even my Stream Deck to reset once the crash happens. So incredibly hindering, not ideal in the slightest. The only fix that I've managed to get to work is by lowering all the graphics to low and locking the FPS to 30 FPS. So if you are a fellow AMD 7000 series user, and perhaps any other card that you're having issues with, this is a way to get this to work. It's like playing Microsoft PowerPoint. It's like playing the game on an Amiga, but at least you're still playing the game. And that being said, I am not going to complain about this, because there are also a lot of people who are having a much worse time with this launch. They can't log into the game since the game's been installed, and there's also situations where people can't use quick play to group up. Crossplay's not working. That's another thing that I'd recommend. Turn crossplay off. That is helping some people get into the game. So if you're just wanting to get into the game, turn crossplay off as a starting point. That might help. This is devastating news for the community and the developers alike, because we all know how damaging a shaky launch for a game can be, and I'm really hoping that they can get on top of this slew of problems they're currently facing, because it would be awful if this game was to fall short like so many others have done in the past simply because of a poor launch. The gameplay itself feels absolutely awesome, and I've been having a great time. Even on my Amiga level gameplay, I've been having fun. That shows you that it is in essence a good game at its core. We just need to be able to play it as intended, and I'm sure the devs are working very hard to get this sorted. Now, personally, I've seen enough of the game, major issues aside, to be satisfied that this has the foundations of a solid game, and me and my squad mates have been having a blast. Nothing but positives to say about it, and also the people that I've been playing with running Nvidia cards have been saying how great it is. They've had no problems at all. So it is not everybody, but there is a large portion of the player base experiencing this. So with that in mind, if you are less committed to this game and still on the fence about it, I am going to say, to be candid with you, wait and see what happens. Don't jump in now if you know you're going to be really frustrated with launch issues and things like that. But I am really hopeful that these will be swiftly resolved and we'll be enjoying the game before we know it. Hang in there, Helldivers. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you you in the next one.